Okay, everybody. All right, so we have a few questions. Folks want to know, what is an outside source for Essay 1? What do you mean, Professor Brown? That's crazy. An outside source? All right, so let me show you what I want you to do. I want you to use your research skills that you learned in English 1A or a comparable course. Now, somebody sent me a Canvas message and they wanted to know, well, what are we supposed to write about? What are we supposed to write about? Okay, well, that's a good question, right? Have you seen any motifs? Have you seen any repeated symbols? Let's look at the text. Wait, should we look at the text? Okay, let's look at the text. Okay, um, here, let's look at How I Met My Husband and the Interpreter of Maladies. I can't even say it. I've been talking so much, you guys. I made so many videos for my other class. My mouth is tired. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're all over the place. Here's Interpreter of Maladies. Okay, and How I Met My Husband. Okay, so now let's look at this story. Okay, so when we're looking here, do you notice, like, let's look at the setting and the characters and the people, right? So we've been reading a little bit of Althusser, Ideology and Ideological State Apparatuses, and he talks about the proletariats and the bourgeoisie, right? That there's a stratified society. And we read The Most Dangerous Game, and Richard Connell, his story was about the hunters and the huntees, right? There are two types of people in the world, right? Aren't you glad that we're the hunters? Whitney? Right? Okay, and so now let's look at this story. What are let's think about, what are the two types of people that we see here, right? So, oh boy, I'm looking on page 68, right? Let's start. Well, you probably have a different pagination again. So let's go at the very beginning. We heard the plane come over at noon, roaring through the radio news, and we were sure it was going to hit the house. So we all ran out into the yard. We saw it come over the treetops, all red and silver. The first close-up plane I ever saw. Mrs. People screamed, "Crash landing!" Their little boy said, Joey was his name. "It's okay," said Dr. Peoples. "He knows what he's doing." Dr. Peoples was only an animal doctor, but he had a calming way of talking like any doctor, right? So we got a doctor, right? So we know he's educated. And of course, I would hope that I'm not going to let some, body that hasn't been to veterinary school, give my dog a rabies shot. So hopefully, I'm going to make that assumption, right? So remember, short stories, everything's compact, because the author only has a small amount of space to tell their stories. So it's compact, right? So we know, right? So I'm gonna keep reading, right? Let's skip down. Okay, we watched the plane land across the road where the fairgrounds used to be. It did not make a good landing field, nice and level for the old racetrack, and the barns. It did make a good landing field, nice and level for the old racetracks, and the barns and display shed torn down now for scrap lumber. So there was nothing in the way. Even the old grandstand bays had burned. "All right," said Mrs. People, snappy as she always was when she got over her nerves. "Let's go back in the house. Let's not stand here gawking like a set of farmers." A set of farmers. I mean, that's kind of rude, right? So we see there is a stratified society, right? Gawking like farmers, right? So I'm just going to come out and say it. I think there's like city folk, and maybe there may be country folk. Right. So who is the protagonist of this story, right? Who's the narrator? Who's telling the story? Whose point of view are we getting it from, right? Who's telling the story, right? What is the point of view? Is it first person? Okay. I haven't got the right kind of stomach to trust what comes out of those tins. I can only eat home canning. I could have slapped her. I bet she never put down fruit in her life, right? She's talking about Loretta Bird. Listen, her name is Loretta Bird. What do we know about birds? Lots of tweety, tweety, tweety stuff, right? So she's a big talker, okay? So we learned here, right, about the city people and the country people, right? And we're learning about Edie and about her life, right? She's in service because she wasn't a good student, right? Her parents put her in service because she wasn't a good student, which I think is kind of crappy, but you know, she does give it a try again. Okay. Let's read where she meets Chris. Let's read where she meets Chris. And what is she doing? She's trying on Mrs. Peoples' clothes, right? Next thing was easy. I got out of my own things and slipped it on. I was slimmer at 15 than anybody would have believed who know me now. And the fit was beautiful. I didn't, of course, have a strapless bra on, which was what I needed. I just had to slide my straps down under my arms under the material. Then I tried pinning my hair up to get the effect. One thing led to another. I put on rouge and lipstick and eyebrow pencil from her dresser. The heat of the day, the weight of the satin, and all the excitement made me thirsty. I went out to the kitchen, got up as I was to get a glass of ginger ale with ice cubes from the refrigerator. The peoples drink ginger ale or fruit drinks all day like water. Woo, that's fancy, right? And I was getting so I did too, right? Let's skip down to the next paragraph. I turned from putting the ice tray back and I saw a man watching me through the screen. So some dude is watching her through the screen. So she's alone. She's not with her parents. She's in service. She's trying on the clothes of her employer while they're out, right? And some dude's gawking at her through the screen, right? I couldn't see what he looked like. He was dark the way somebody is pressed up against the screen door with the bright light behind them. I only knew he wasn't from around here. I'm from the plane over there. My name is Chris Walters. And what I was wondering was if I could use the pump. There was a pump in the yard, right? So he's weird, right? Right away, we're getting a bad feeling about him, right? Because he's gawking at a young girl through a screen. He could have rang the doorbell and made some more noise, right? So she's enamored of him, okay? So now let's go forward a few pages, right? And then who shows up? Who shows up, right? This is a lady looking for the man that flies the plane, Loretta Bird said. I heard her inquire in the hotel coffee shop where I was having a Coke and brought her out. I'm sorry to bother you, the lady said. I'm Alice Keeling, Mr. Walter's fiance. What? He's got a fiance, right? So there was some deception because he presented himself as a single man, right? And so then we go forward and they talk about her ring, right? That is tiny and he's a fly guy, right? He's flying around giving little rings to a bunch of ladies, right? And let's go forward, right? This is when they find out, right? I'm not surprised, said Alice Keeney. Alice Keeney said in a high voice, I knew by the look of her as soon as I saw her. We get them at the hospital all the time. We get them at the hospital all the time, right? She's putting Edie down, right? She's a certain class of girl, right? Let me read that again. I'm not surprised, said Alice Keeney in a high voice. I knew by the look of her as soon as I saw her. We get them at the hospital all the time. She looked hard at me with a stretched smile. Having their babies. We get them all the time having their babies. We have to put them in the special ward because of their diseases. Little country tramps, 14 and 15 years old. You should see the babies they have too. Ooh, she is talking some crap about Edie, right? Look at them with their kids, right? So what do we know about prejudice, stereotypes, right? So racism, prejudice, bias, it comes out of not being able to see a person as an individual, but seeing them as a representation of a group. And there is a prime example right there of stereotyping, right, of bias that Monroe shows us through Alice Keeney, right? Let's move down, okay? Again, loose little bitch. Tears ran down her face. Loose little bitch, aren't you? I knew as soon as I saw you. Men despise girls like you. He just made use of you and went off. You know that, don't you? Girls like you are just nothing. They're just public conveniences, just filthy little rags, right? Oh, now, said Mrs. Peoples, right? She tries to protect Edie, right? She's not a filthy little rag, right? But now look at what she's saying, because this is what Alice Keeney thinks about herself, right? Because she's chasing some dude around town. He's flying around and she's chasing him. She didn't arrive with him, right? She's following him, right? So there's a lot of deception. Maybe Alice Keeling is deceiving herself, right? Okay, so let's keep going. So we're getting a lot of information about these characters, right? When we look closely at the words. Now let's look at interpreter of maladies, right? Okay, there's a, oh wow, this is, well, I don't want to make this video too long, but go through here, right? Look at Mrs. Dawes, how she treats her family. She's like false, right? She has a false face all the time, right? She's deceptive, right? Why is she so deceptive? Why is she so cold, right? Remember, the subtitle of our class is Bad Bitches, right? The subtitle of our class, right? And then again, in Interpreter of Maladies, we see two classes of people. We see the rich and we see their servants, okay? So now, how am I going to find an outside source, and what's an outside source? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I talked enough about that. I could go on, and you guys know I can do a lot of talking. All right, so now, first thing I want to do is I'm going to go to my computer. I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'm going to open up a new page. Okay, you can go through Canvas, but I want to show you the Delta College Library resources, okay? So let's put this up here, and I'm going to move my cell. Okay, I need to put this down. This chat thing comes up. Thank you, I appreciate you. All right, so let me go to services. I'm gonna go to library, okay? Now, JSTOR is one of the best academic databases to look in for outside sources, peer-reviewed academic journal articles for your papers, okay? So here we are at the Delta College Library. This is the home page, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to databases, okay? And I'm going to go here, to JSTOR, right? And I'm going to go to JSTOR. Okay, now you might have to log in. It's going to ask you to log in. If it does, then just log in, okay? Now I'm going to talk about self-deception, because there's a lot of self-deception happening, right? In self-deceptions, I spelled it wrong. Okay, well, here's motifs, right? Okay, that's in Polynesian. Ooh. Deceptions, assertions, or second string verbiage, right? Wow, that looks good. Let's take a look, okay? I want to look at this really quick. I accept, and then I'm going to go back. Okay, is it going to open? Okay, it should open. Okay, all right, let me go here. Okay, let me go to academic journals. Okay, and let me just go self-deception. Actually, I'm going to talk about miscommunication, because there was miscommunication too. Miscommunication, right? Between the city and the country people, right? Miscommunication between Alice Keeney and Chris, between Chris and Edie, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna select journals, academic content journals, right? And I'm gonna go from 2000, to 2000 to 2020, right? And let's see what we get. Managing, understanding intercultural talk and empirical approach to miscommunication, right? Okay, so there's intercultural miscommunication in How I Met My Husband. Oh no, sexual miscommunication. That's both. That's both of them, right? That's How I Met My Husband and Interpreter Maladies, right? Silence and miscommunication. There's also miscommunication in everyday use, like within the family, miscommunication and self-deception, right? Okay, so this is what I mean by outside source, okay? So let's go back here. Let's go back to A to Z databases, and I'm gonna go back, and I'm gonna go back. And in here, I'm going to go, here it says find articles, ebooks, videos, and more, right? And I'm gonna type in self-deception and see what I get. Right now, I'm getting just a blank screen. Save us from deceiving ourselves. Okay, ooh, can you trust yourself? Self-deception through signaling, right? Ooh, that seems interesting. What the heck is that? Okay, I have to log in for full access. So now I want to see it. Let's see, I have to log in now. It's taking me to the login page. This is what I want to have happen. Oh, I already logged in, so it just gave it to me. Oh, I wanted it to show me logging in. Through self-signaling, right? First, I need to understand what self-signaling is. But this is an academic journal article, okay? We combine attribution, legitimate perceptions to create a self-attribution index, right? So you have a self-attribution index, right? Wow, what if you apply this to the interpreter of maladies? Okay, so then that's one, okay? What can you do with this, right? So you can save this. If I want it, I could save it, right? I could copy the permalink, and then save the permalink so I can have it for later. I could email it to myself, right? So I'm gonna copy this permalink and I'm gonna put in my journal notes. This is my journal, okay? And I'm gonna write self-deception. Right, self-deception article. Then I'm going to go back. And the reason why I want to do the permalink is because I can always use that link instead of taking the link from my from my web address bar, because this is going to be the actual document. Okay, you have it now. You have it. Let's see, new paradigms in myopic choice. Okay, I don't want to see that. Okay, so let's go back to, okay, facade and self-deception, right? Leadership and self-deception, sweet self-deceptions, okay? Willful ignorance and self-deception. I think this is definitely both of these, right? Willful ignorance and self-deception. What's up with that? Is an important concept in criminal law, right? Some examples of willful ignorance, right? And what happens when you're willfully ignorant, right? Letting yourself be deluded, right? I said the Nazis. Ooh. Okay, so this might be something that I might want to look at. Okay, this might be something that I might want to look at. Okay, so now I'm going to stop my screen share. So hopefully you understand what it is that I mean by a peer-reviewed source. So again, you know what, I'm gonna screen share again. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and I wanna touch this, right? I wanna go here. I'm going to get out of here, right? And I want to go here, look at the side here. I want to make sure that I have academic journal articles. So I'm going to know that they're going to be peer reviewed. Okay. And it says full text, and I'm going to click peer reviewed here. Okay. Look here on the left side of the page, your limiters, right? And now I want to bring it to the 21st century. Okay. And now I have peer-reviewed journal articles. Now, I want stuff written. Let me go by geography here because I want it to be in the United States. Okay. Invisible hand and the wisdom of the hive, social lives, self-interest, and self-deception. That might be something interesting. Okay, common core, it's a wonderful lie. Isn't self-deception marvelous? Where would we be without it? Right? So the thing is, when you're trying to get academic articles for literature, it's good to look in philosophy, psychology, sociology, right? The study of the human animal, okay? Because remember, these are stories about human experience. All right. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Hopefully that helped. Was this video long enough? Did I bibble babble enough?